I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching Eagle News International. On today's program, a waterspout comes ashore near Fort Lauderdale Beach.
Hey, Oklahoma, Governor Kevin.
Recovery efforts now underway after an outbreak of tornadoes killed 3 people in Oklahoma. The Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization has warned that even with successful climate mitigation efforts, the negative trend in climate will continue for the coming decades. Deep-sea explorers said they had located the wreck of a World War II Japanese transport ship, the Montevideo Maru, which was torpedoed off the Philippines, killing nearly 1,000 Australians aboard. First, in our news, we go to the U.S., where the Weather Service is now watching really bad storms. Hail bringing a ton of rain, starting to move east from the south. Take a look. From Illinois to Texas to Arkansas, and now take a look at this waterspout popping out of Miami. These are the threats picking up over the weekend there. According to a report from the WSVN-TV, 2 waterspouts touched down on the coast of Broward County beaches before immediately dissipating on Friday afternoon. One of the weather phenomena made landfall around 12:45 p.m. on the shores just east of the intersection of Hay Street and North Surfboard. Live video footage captured a funnel cloud over the ocean where the disturbance in the water could be seen. At the time of the video, the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning after the waterspout made landfall, but it was soon lifted. Once a waterspout makes landfall, experts consider that a tornado. Meanwhile, recovery efforts now underway after an outbreak of tornadoes killed 3 people in Oklahoma. The governor there, Kevin Stitt, spoke on the morning of Thursday from Oklahoma Baptist University, where multiple buildings were damaged. Take a look.
Hey, Oklahoma, Governor Kevin Stitt here. Hey, we're in Shawnee right now touring the damage, and I'm actually at OVU University. Almost every building was damaged. Just met with the president, Heath Thomas. We're getting resources here. Last night we had our first responders, highway patrol, fire departments, literally searched every building, and all students, faculty are accounted for. And so stay safe, Oklahoma, and we'll be back with you with more updates.
Now, emergency management authorities in the state's South Central McLean County confirmed the deaths in a Facebook post, adding that search and rescue efforts were ongoing late into the night. The National Weather Service office in nearby Norman, Oklahoma, described erratic tornadoes and supercell storms in the region. The erratic motion adds another level to the danger of tornadoes, making their paths unpredictable. It could leave those who originally thought they were safely out of the twister's path instead in the middle of the approaching storm. As the cluster of supercells moved toward Shawnee, Oklahoma, 2 areas of rotation began spinning around each other like 2 figure skaters going in for a hug. Meteorologists said the phenomenon is known as the Fujiwara effect and can be seen when 2 cyclonic systems drift near each other. Meanwhile, here in the country, Pagasa said the heat index in Quezon City will likely reach 50 degrees Celsius today, the highest since the start of the summer. Pagasa said the 50 degrees Celsius will be the highest in its 5-day heat index monitoring that began last April 21st, based on the forecast of its Science Garden station in Quezon City. Again, let's listen in.
In-expect po kasi natin during the month of May, doon po natin natatala yung mga matataas na heat index. Sa katunayan, last year, ang pinakamataas po nating na record na heat index ay 55 degrees Celsius sa Dagupan. Ito po ay nangyari ng May 1, 2022. Yes, sir. Typically po, around the month of May, doon po natin na inaasahan yung mga matataas na heat index, kung saan mataas ang relative humidity at saka mataas din ang mga temperature na nare-record natin. Nagsimula po tayo mag-record ng heat index mula nitong March 1. Simula po noong March 1 hanggang kahapon, April 20, ang pinakamataas po nating naitalang heat index ay 47 degrees Celsius. Ito po ay sa San Jose, Occidental Mindoro, natala po natin noong March 25. And then kahapon naman po ay about 43 degrees Celsius ang pinakamataas na naitala natin sa Dagupan City. Around 2 p.m. po ito kahapon. Ngayon pong long weekend, particularly April 23 by Sunday, about 49 degrees Celsius po yung posible natin maitala sa gawin ng Cabanatuan City po ito.
Okay.
So, inaasahan po natin ito gawa ng ang umiiral nating weather system sa kasalukuyan ay itong easterlies na nagdadala siya ng mainit na hangin mula sa karagatang Pasipiko.
Now, Pag-asa has warned that a heat stroke is likely if a person is exposed to a heat index ranging from 42 degrees Celsius to 52 degrees Celsius. It advised the public to limit outdoor activities and keep hydrated by drinking plenty of water, especially at noontime and early afternoon when the heat is most intense. The Rincon de la Vieja volcano in the north of Costa Rica registered an eruption of 2,500 meters, according to geologist Blas Sanchez. There were no damages to infrastructure or casualties, according to authorities. Let's listen in.
En un volcán de una erupción que alcanza aproximadamente 2.500 metros sobre la cima, arrojando principalmente materiales calientes fuera del lago, que son transportados por ríos hacia la cara norte del volcán. Es importante destacar que este volcán a lo largo de esta semana ha registrado erupciones, si bien no tan grandes como estas, importantes que han estado arrojando materiales a los ríos, por lo cual se tiene una condición de alta actividad, según lo reportado por el Observatorio Volcanológico y Sismológico, y haciendo prever que la actividad venía en incremento.
The CNE statement explained that a volcanic cloud was released, reaching up to 7,500 meters in the air. It was also reported that materials from the volcano's lagoon were expelled to the northern side of the cone and had reached several surrounding rivers. The explosion occurred at 3:57 in the afternoon, and at this time, there were no further information about the event's impact or current activity. Volcanic eruptions can be devastating, causing damage to the environment, homes, and infrastructure, as well as posing a significant risk to human life. However, the CNE has been working tirelessly to monitor the situation, it said, and ensure the safety of the local communities. In the past, Costa Rica has experienced volcanic eruptions from other active volcanoes, such as Arenal and Turrialba. Now, these events have highlighted the importance of preparing for natural disasters and developing effective evacuation plans to keep people safe. The Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization has warned that even with successful climate mitigation efforts, the negative trend in climate will continue for the coming decades. Take a look.
We have again broken a new record in ocean heat content, which is, for example, giving more energy for the tropical storms, cyclones, hurricanes, and typhoons. We have doubled the sea level rise during the past 20 years. We used to have 2.3 millimeters per year sea level rise 20 years ago, and recently we have seen 4.6 millimeters per year increases. And that increase is very much coming from the melting of major glaciers in Greenland and Antarctica. Trend in weather patterns and all of these parameters may continue until 2060s, independent of our success in climate mitigation. We have already emitted so much of especially carbon dioxide to the atmosphere that this kind of phasing out of the negative trend takes several decades. And as I said, we have already lost this melting of glaciers game and sea level rise game. Melting of the glaciers continue, and there has been a 4-time increase of the melting of glaciers since the 70s. And here in Switzerland, we lost 6.2% of the glacier mass last summer because of the heat wave, which is a new record. Last summer, the heat wave here in Europe led to casualties of about 15,000 people. Who died because of the heat wave and poor air quality. And in China, last summer was the hottest summer ever, and it was also the second driest summer that they have observed. And they also reached a record low level of water in their main river called Yangtze. We have started seeing the increase of food insecurity again, and there have been more than 20 million people affected in Horn of Africa, 28 million in Latin America and Caribbean, 19 million in Afghanistan, and 7 million in South Sudan. The governments have realized that there's a problem called climate change, and they can see it with their own eyes, and the proof of scientific facts is now very clear. And what has also been happening during the past years is that the private sector has started acting. So growing amount of big companies worldwide, they are interested in climate mitigation and being part of the solution.
Now, despite the report's bad news, Mr. Taala said there was cause for some optimism because he said the means to battle climate change were becoming more affordable, with green energy becoming cheaper than fossil fuels while the world is developing better mitigation methods. The planet is no longer heading towards 3 to 5 degrees Celsius warming, as forecast back in 2014, but was now on track for 2.5 to 3 degrees Celsius warming. In tonight's other news, Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang arrived in Manila to try to boost ties with the Philippines, which is staging its largest ever military exercises with the U.S. Philippine officials said Mr. Qin is set to meet President Marcos today after an initial meeting with his Philippine counterpart Enrique Manalo. Qin's visit coincides with the Philippines and the U.S. now holding their largest ever joint military exercises, with nearly 18,000 troops taking part in live fire and combat drills until April 28. He arrived in Manila at around 10 p.m. on Friday on his first visit to the Philippines as foreign minister. Qin's predecessor Wang Yi was the first foreign minister to visit President Marcos last year, describing his election in June as turning a new page that would create a new golden age of bilateral relations between the two countries. Meanwhile, Philippine leader President Marcos will meet U.S. President Joe Biden next month to discuss efforts to strengthen the long-standing alliance between the treaty allies. Manila and Washington agreed in recent months to restart joint maritime patrols on the South China Sea and agreed to expand U.S. forces' presence in the country. President Marcos has also allowed the U.S. to rotate its troops around 4 additional sites under a 2014 deal that originally identified 5 locations. The new sites include a naval base and an airport in northern provinces near Taiwan, and an air base off an island near the South China Sea. While the Philippine military is one of the weakest in Asia, the country's proximity to Taiwan and its surrounding waters would make it a key partner for the U.S. in the event of a conflict with China. Now, criticizing China over Taiwan will have dangerous consequences. That is according to Foreign Minister Qin Gang, warning this on Friday as he insisted that Beijing is a growing force for peace and justice. He reiterated Beijing's claim over the Taiwan Strait and denies that the country is trying to change the status quo. Take a look.
Recently, there have been some absurd rhetoric accusing China of challenging the so-called rules-based international order, of unilaterally changing the status quo across the Taiwan Strait through force or coercion, and of disrupting peace and stability across the strait. Such claims go against basic common sense on international relations and historical justice. The logic is absurd and the consequences dangerous. Having suffered among the heaviest casualties in the World Anti-Fascist Alliance during World War II, and as a founding member of the UN and the first country to sign the UN Charter, China sees it as its solemn duty to defend the authority of the UN and uphold the post-war international order. We have the best record in abiding by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, international law, and the basic norms of international relations. We need no reminder by certain countries or groups of countries. Fair-minded people can see full well who is exploiting and discarding the UN at its own will, who is disrupting the international order and who is engaged in hegemonic, bullying, and high-handed practices. Friends, Taiwan has been an inalienable part of China's territory since ancient times, and both sides of the strait belong to one and the same China. This is Taiwan's history, and it is also the status quo of Taiwan. Taiwan's return to China is a component of the post-war international order, written in black and white in the Cairo Declaration and the Potsdam Proclamation. It is right and proper for China to uphold its sovereignty and territorial integrity. We would like to make it clear to those who seek to sabotage international justice in the name of international order. The Taiwan question is the core of the core interests of China, and there will be no vagueness at all in our response to anyone who attempts to distort the One China principle. We will never back down in face of any act that undermines China's sovereignty and security. Those who play with fire on Taiwan will eventually get themselves burned.
Now, Beijing reiterated in a white paper last August that it was prepared to use force to take control of Taiwan. In today's other news, Russia said one of its fighter jets lost ammunition over Belgorod near the Ukrainian border on Thursday after local authorities reported a blast that injured 2 people and left a huge crater in the city. On Thursday evening, local officials reported a massive explosion in Belgorod, saying the blast had left a crater in the city center and injured 2 women. Take a look. Now, Vyacheslav Gladkov, governor of the region of Belgorod, said the blast had sent a shock wave that damaged 4 apartments and 4 cars and downed power line poles. The Russian Defense Ministry released a statement saying a fighter aircraft had lost ammunition over this area. The ministry said, quote, during the flight of the Su-34 aircraft of the aerospace forces over the city of Belgorod, an abnormal descent of aviation ammunition has occurred. The statement carried by Russian news agency added that the incident had taken place at 22:15 local time. Citing preliminary information, Gladkov said 1 woman was hospitalized with a head injury while another woman was treated at the scene. Residents of the damaged buildings would be temporarily moved to hotels, according to authorities. The G7 foreign ministers who met in Japan ended their meeting with a joint statement. After 2 days of talks in the Japanese mountain resort town of Karuizawa, the top diplomats from leading economies unveiled no new sanctions on Moscow over its invasion, but they pledged to crack down on those helping Russia evade the measures and acquire weapons. The ministers also put Beijing on notice over its militarization activities in the South China Sea. Our correspondent from Japan, Dennis Liu, reports from Tokyo.
G7 foreign ministers warned Tuesday that those helping Russia wage war in Ukraine would face severe costs as they offered a united front on another key policy challenge, China. After 2 days of talks in the bucolic Japanese mountain resort town, Karuizawa, the top diplomats from leading economies unveiled no new sanctions on Moscow over its invasion, but pledged to crack down on those helping Russia evade the measures and acquire weapons. It was clear that 2 topics dominated discussions above all: the war in Ukraine and China's growing military and economic clout.
これは国際秩序の根幹を揺るがす暴挙でありまして、断じて認められないと考えております。欧州とインド太平洋の安全保障、これは不可分でありまして、私自身、ウクライナは明日の東アジアかもしれないという危機感を持っております。
The statement made clear the ministers were mindful of the furore caused by French President Emmanuel Macron's comments last week following a trip to Beijing that Europe should avoid crises that aren't ours. Blinken said he had never seen greater convergence on views about China and Taiwan, and the statement warned Beijing on everything from its nuclear arsenal to its business practices. And without directly mentioning China, the group pledged to step up cooperation against economic coercion, the practice of weaponizing import or export rules for political purposes. Japan's Foreign Minister Hayashi Yoshimasa told reporters the ministers confirmed for the first time in document form that the G7 would oppose any attempt to unilaterally change the status quo anywhere in the world.
また G7 として東シナ海、南シナ海情勢について引き続き深刻な懸念を表明するとともに、力または威圧によるいかなる一方的な現状変更の試みにも強く反対をするということで一致をいたしました。さらに国際社会の安全と繁栄に不可欠な要素である台湾海峡の平和と安定の重要性、これを再確認をいたしました。
Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said the ministers had disregarded objective facts, grossly interfered in China's internal affairs. The talks set the stage for a G7 leaders summit next month in Hiroshima, where Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida wants to make nuclear disarmament a key plank of discussions. Reporting from Tokyo, Japan, this is Dennis Liu, and we live in extraordinary times.
Thank you, Dennis. Meanwhile, Dominic Raab announced he was stepping down as UK Deputy Prime Minister after being faulted in a workplace bullying inquiry. The former lawyer, a karate black belt, has denied bullying civil servants working for him during his time at the Brexit Ministry. The report's author, Adam Tolley, concluded Raab acted in a way which was intimidating at a meeting while Foreign Secretary and by threatening a civil servant with, quote, unspecified disciplinary action. At the Justice Ministry, he was at times abrasive but not abusive, according to the report's author, even though he was cleared of all but 2 of the 8 allegations against him. Mr. Raab blasted the conclusions of a lawyer-led inquiry launched last November. In a lengthy repost in the Daily Telegraph, he described the 6-month investigation as Kafkaesque and a trial by media, quote, fueled by warped and fabricated accounts. In his resignation letter, Mr. Raab called the 2 findings against him flawed and said they set a dangerous precedent for the conduct of good government. The resignation presents a headache for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who had pledged a fresh start after his predecessor's turbulent tenures some 2 weeks before local elections, at which the Tories are expected to lose seats. Sunak is also battling to claw back a chasm of lost ground to the main opposition Labour Party before a general election next year. In today's other news, unknown gunmen stormed a house and killed 10 members of a family in the latest mass shooting to rock crime-ridden South Africa. Now, police said 7 women and 3 men were fatally wounded in Mbali, a township south of Pietermaritzburg in the southeastern province of KwaZulu-Natal. According to initial reports, unknown gunmen stormed Pietermaritzburg homestead and ambushed the family. The motive for the killing was not immediately clear, but Iyabonga Minebele, a woman said to be a close family friend of the victims, spoke outside the crime scene, telling reporters that the family had strained relations with another local family due to a separate incident. Police Minister Beki Sele was due to visit the crime scene. Mass shootings are relatively common in South Africa, which has one of the world's highest murder rates. Police arrested an adult and 2 teenagers and charged them with murder over a Sweet 16 birthday party shooting in a small Alabama town that left 4 people dead and 32 injured. Here's an update from Philip Toledo.
According to the Gun Violence Archive, the U.S. recorded its highest number of mass shootings in a single day so far for 2023. 7 mass shootings were reported last Saturday, April 15. Among them was the shooting in Alabama, where 4 were killed when a gunman opened fire during a Sweet 16 birthday party. 32 were also injured during the tragedy. That same day, reports of mass shootings came in from California, New Jersey, Hawaii, Arizona, and Kentucky. In all, 10 died, 55 injured as a result of the 7 mass shootings. The mass shooting in Alabama marked the 160th for the U.S. for this year. Philip Toledo, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Deep-sea explorers said they had located the wreck of a World War II Japanese transport ship, the Montevideo Maru, which was torpedoed off the Philippines, killing nearly 1,000 Australians aboard. The ship, sunk on July 1, 1942, by a U.S. submarine whose crew did not realize it carried prisoners of war, was found at a depth of more than 4 kilometers, according to the maritime archaeology group Silent World Foundation, which organized the mission. The sinking of the Montevideo Maru was Australia's worst ever maritime disaster, killing an estimated 979 Australian citizens, including at least 850 troops. Civilians from 13 other countries were also aboard, according to the foundation, bringing the total number of prisoners killed to about 1,060. They had been captured a few months earlier by Japanese forces in the fall of the coastal township of Rabaul in Papua New Guinea. After 5 years of planning, explorers began searching for the wreck on April 6 in the South China Sea, northwest of the Philippines' main island of Luzon. They made a positive sighting just 12 days later, using high-tech equipment, including an autonomous underwater vehicle equipped with sonar. In tonight's other news, the broadcast media and entertainment industry converged in Las Vegas to attend the NAB Show. Here they can discover new technology, share knowledge, make new connections, and participate in workshops. Anna Kui at the scene.
NAB Show 2023 marks its centennial year, and organizers highlights its history with this timeline display right behind me. The NAB Show was first held at the Commodore Hotel in New York in 1923. It first came to Las Vegas in 1975 and became its annual host in 1991. According to NAB officials, the show's 100th show anniversary allows NAB to not only reflect on the past, but also to figure out how to help industry members in the future. And innovation and service to local communities is key. Although competition for users and revenue dollars is fierce with tech giants such as Amazon Prime and Spotify, NAB CEO Legeet says broadcast is unique in that it covers news at the street level. The pandemic is behind us, but no doubt did it leave behind lessons learned from the challenges it came with. It was a reminder of the great role local broadcasters play in the communities and how quickly they were able to pivot to continue to deliver news through remote broadcast productions.
We invented our first box during the pandemic as a way to continue filming. So we have figured out how to remotely control lights, cameras, microphones, everything you need for a shoot over the internet.
There was a strong demand from the marketplace for an all-in-one box. People were using every kind of solution you can think of, from multiple iPhones to putting laptops up on crates. But there are some productions where you do not want to compromise on quality, right? Where the webcam look or the iPhone look isn't what you're looking for in a top flight production. And that's where the ability to use a real camera, 1080i or 4K broadcast quality PTZ camera comes in.
But now the challenge continues with the popularity of AI technology and the concern of some that it will make certain jobs in the broadcast industry obsolete. Industry experts say AI technology is still emerging and it will take time to reach the level of accuracy that the broadcast industry needs and requires. In Las Vegas, Anna Kui, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
A new bird park is set to open in Singapore with 8 large aviaries that visitors can walk through to see birds of different species living together in the same enclosure. Take a look.
By having the birds have so much more space and be able to coexist with many different species, because the more space you have, the more animals you can mix, as long as they get along, obviously. And we went to very much detailed, making sure that whatever is mixed here actually can coexist without any problems. But that means that they get to experience new things. They get to fly more, they get to interact with other species, they get to be in bigger flocks. And this is really important for them. And so we're very happy that not only does it look great, it's also great for the birds. The population plan here, we have one of the largest populations of birds in the human care in one single institution. And we're going to start over with already over 400 species and over 3,500 animals. As the park matures, this will continue to grow, because we are not starting from scratch in the sense that we have a huge heritage from Jurong Bird Park. And what we're doing with this place, because of the infrastructure and because of how it's designed and how it allows the birds to have so much more quality of life, we can actually amplify everything that was good from Jurong Bird Park.
Now, during the media preview on Friday, visitors saw flamingos and macaws living side by side and got close to friendly parrots. Friendly parrots and hornbills, the birds have been gradually relocating to the new 17-hectare park over several months since their old home, the Jurong Bird Park, closed in January. By that time, it opens on May 8. The new bird paradise will house 3,500 birds from over 400 species, according to Mandai Wildlife Group, which runs Bird Paradise and Singapore Zoo. There are twice as many immersive aviaries that visitors can walk through in the new park, and they're designed to bring visitors closer to their feathered inhabitants, and each one is built to resemble different parts of the world, including Southeast Asia paddy fields, the Australian outback, and African rainforests. And prosecutors have officially closed their case against Alec Baldwin in the deadly Rust film shooting with new revelations. Take a look. Now, the court finding said the new facts were revealed that demand further investigation and forensic analysis, which cannot be completed in time for a preliminary hearing that had been scheduled for May. A New Mexico court filing said the case against Baldwin is dismissed without prejudice, but investigations remain active and ongoing. The Los Angeles Times reported that prosecutors had received information that the gun had been modified in a manner increasing the odds it might have misfired, citing 3 anonymous sources. The criminal case against Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the young armorer who had been responsible for weapons on the set of the film, remains ongoing. At a court status conference Friday, all parties agreed to postpone the preliminary hearing for those proceedings until August. Baldwin was holding a Colt 45 handgun during rehearsals when it discharged, killing Hutchins and wounding director Joel Souza. He has always insisted he was told the gun was safe and that he didn't pull the trigger, and had pleaded not guilty to the charges. Mr. Baldwin is currently filming Rust on location in Montana. Hutchins' widower, Matthew, will be an executive producer. Baldwin last October reached a settlement in a wrongful death lawsuit brought by her family. And finally in our news, something to watch out for. Worlds collide in The Flash when Barry uses his superpowers to travel back in time in order to change the events of the past. Take a look at this trailer. But when his attempt to save his family inadvertently alters the future, Barry becomes trapped in a reality in which General Zod has returned. Now, Barry can coax a very different Batman out of retirement and rescue an imprisoned Kryptonian, albeit not the one he's looking for, ultimately to save the world that he is in and return to the future that he knows. Barry the only hope is to race for his life. But will making the ultimate sacrifice be enough to reset the universe? The Flash ensemble includes rising stars Sasha Calle, Michael Shannon, Ron Livingston, Maribel Verdú, Kiersey Clemens, Angie Chowry, and Michael Keaton.
My face. You stole my face. If you were to go into the past, you have no idea what the consequences can be. Bruce, I could fix things. You could also destroy everything.
This can't be happening. I completely broke the universe.
Zod, we've been waiting for you.
I created a world with no metahumans. And now there's no one to defend us.
Want some help? You are?
Yeah. I'm Batman.
And as always, I'll end the day on a thoughtful note. Our ability to look back and smile at our past is proof that God's plan is to keep us moving forward. This has been Eagle News International. I'm Alma Angela. Stay alert, stay informed, because we live in extraordinary times. Good day.